Welcome to this lesson on dominant and recessive alleles. Today, you'll learn about the different versions of genes and how they interact with each other to determine the traits you inherit from your parents. Understanding this fundamental concept is key to grasping how heredity works in living organisms. Let's start with the basics. Alleles are different versions of the same gene. Think of a gene as a recipe, and alleles as different variations of that recipe. For example, the gene that controls eye color has multiple alleles. One allele might code for brown eyes, another for blue eyes, and yet another for green eyes. Each parent passes one allele to their offspring, which is why you inherit traits from both your mother and father. A dominant allele is a powerful version of a gene that masks the effect of other alleles. When you have at least one dominant allele, its trait will show up in your physical appearance. Scientists represent dominant alleles using uppercase letters, such as capital A, capital B, or capital T. The dominant allele is like a loud voice in a conversation that drowns out the quieter voices. In contrast, a recessive allele is masked when a dominant allele is present. For a recessive trait to appear, you need two copies of the recessive allele, one from each parent. Scientists use lowercase letters to represent recessive alleles, such as lowercase a, lowercase b, or lowercase t. Think of recessive alleles as quiet voices that can only be heard when there's no loud voice present. Now let's see how dominant and recessive alleles interact. If you have two dominant alleles, represented as capital A, the dominant trait shows. If you have one dominant and one recessive allele, written as capital A lowercase a, the dominant trait still shows because the dominant allele masks the recessive one. Only when you have two recessive alleles, lowercase a, does the recessive trait appear. This pattern of interaction is crucial for understanding inheritance. Let's look at a real-world example using pea plants. In pea plants, the gene for height has two alleles. The allele for tall plants is represented by capital T and is dominant. The allele for short plants is represented by lowercase t and is recessive. This is the same example that Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, used in his groundbreaking experiments in the 1800s. Here's how the alleles for pea plant height work together. If a plant has two capital T alleles, written as capital T, it will be tall. If it has one capital T and one lowercase t, written as capital T lowercase t, it will still be tall because the dominant allele masks the recessive one. Only if the plant has two lowercase t alleles, written as lowercase t, will it be short. Notice that you need two copies of the recessive allele for the recessive trait to show. Let's review the key points. First, dominant alleles mask the effects of recessive alleles when both are present. Second, recessive traits only appear when an organism has two copies of the recessive allele. And third, the combination of alleles you inherit determines which traits you express. Understanding how dominant and recessive alleles interact is fundamental to genetics and helps explain why offspring can look different from their parents or even their siblings.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.